Meanwhile, Nigeria's High Commissioner has distanced itself from the so-called coronation of an Igbo king. Lidaba Tsotetsi reports.
Members of different organizations are outside the Nigerian High Commission demanding clarity on the latest developments in East London. They say Nigerian nationals in South Africa are undermining traditional leadership systems in the country. They also question the legitimacy of individuals claiming titles such as Igwe within South Africa. The group demand a closure of clear account of the event in question. Police contingent has been deployed around the High Commission to keep public order. Ditaba Tsotetsi, SABC News, Pretoria.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Amathole traditional leaders chairperson Nkosi Sigcawu has blamed the violence during a protest in Kukombo City on provocations by the foreign nationals. This after a protest in the city over the installation of a Nigerian Igbo king turned violent yesterday, leaving cars torched and shops looted. Sigcawu has condemned the violence and has emphasized that South Africans are peaceful people.
We are really not happy with whatever that the Nigerians were doing, be it them celebrating their own culture or tradition, but for them to declare one of theirs as a king is totally unacceptable. They are the ones who have provoked our communities in South Africa, especially in the region of Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality. We are law-abiding citizens as South Africans, especially Amaxhosa. We are a peace-loving nation.
With the Easter weekend just around the corner, several countries have warned their citizens to exercise extreme caution when traveling, specifically to South Africa. The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia and New Zealand have all flagged serious concerns regarding violent crime, sophisticated scams, health hazards and even the threat of terrorism. The United States has officially kept South Africa on a level 2 advisory, which advises tourists to exercise heightened caution, specifically due to the risks of unrest and kidnapping. Violent crime remains the most prominent issue raised by these foreign authorities. Officials in the United Arab Emirates say a Kuwaiti oil tanker in the port of Dubai has been hit in an Iranian drone attack, sparking a huge fire. Maritime firefighters teams have brought the blaze under control, with all 24 crew members all said to be safe. The vessel was reportedly en route to China. The BBC's Lorna Gordon reports.
This huge oil tanker was at dock in the waters off of Dubai when it was attacked just after midnight local time by what Dubai authorities say was a drone. The ship, it's carrying 2 million barrels of oil from Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, and there were initially at least concerns of the possibility of an oil spill. That is now being assessed.
Lastly, the Mexican government says it will be supporting a class action lawsuit filed earlier this month in the U.S. over the confinement conditions at an immigration processing center in California. The move follows the death last week of a Mexican man. He died in ICE custody at the Adelanto facility. The BBC's Will Grant reports.
The Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, said her government would explore all legal avenues following the death of a Mexican national, José Guadalupe Ramos. ICE said that Mr. Ramos had been found unconscious and unresponsive in his bunk, and following attempts by staff to carry out CPR, he was pronounced dead in hospital. At a news conference in California, Mr. Ramos's children said their father's treatment in the ICE facility had been inhumane. He suffered from diabetes, hypertension and hyperlipidemia. The Department of Homeland Security is yet to respond.
For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. And coming up in your sports news this hour, Ghana sack manager Otto Addo 7 days before the FIFA World Cup, while the LA 2028 Olympic organizers says the first Olympic tickets will be on sale on the 9th of April. I'll tell you more at 12:30.
This is Africa Update, your pulse to the continent. Stories shaping nations and voices driving change. Stay informed, stay connected, right here on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is 12:06 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Coming up in the Sawa, the Progressive Forces movement has staged a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, and Worldwide Fund for Nature South Africa is helping to shape the country's next generation of environmental leaders. I'll stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally. On hashtag Africa Update Us, South African civic organisation the Progressive Forces movement has staged a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, intensifying tensions over the controversial and alleged coronation of a figure referred to as the Igbo King of East London in the Eastern Cape. Now, what advice would you give to South Africans and Nigerians in South Africa in addressing these tensions? I'll share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
It is 12:08 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Our South African civic organisation, the Progressive Forces movement, has staged a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, intensifying tensions over the controversial and alleged coronation of a figure referred to as the Igbo King of East London in the Eastern Cape. The group is demanding urgent diplomatic clarification and accountability, arguing that the incident raises serious concerns about foreign influence and respect for South Africa's constitutional and traditional governance systems. The development has triggered a wave of backlash from several South African royal houses, most notably the Abatembu Royal Kingdom, which has strongly condemned the reported coronation. And to get more insights on this picket, we cross live to our reporter Michael Mbewe, who is covering this event for us. Now, Michael, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Good afternoon, Lulu, and to our listeners across the continent and also beyond, Lulu.
Now, Michael, what has happened? What has unfolded so far? Did they manage to hand over their memoranda of demands? What is the situation currently?
Yes, indeed, Lulu. We are coming to you live from outside the Nigeria Embassy in Pretoria, South Africa's capital, where a civic movement organization has just handed over a memorandum of demands to the Nigerian authorities here after picketing for about 2 hours or so. The question is why, Lou? Yes, the group is voicing a strong concern over the disputed and reportedly unauthorized coronation of an individual described as the Igbo King of East London. This is formerly not. This is in the Kwahompo. There's a new name in the Eastern Cape. It is calling for immediate diplomatic clarification and also accountability, asserting that the situation highlights significant issues regarding potential foreign influence and the need to uphold South Africa's constitutional framework and establish traditional leadership structures. Not such a huge group. It's been a handful of different civic organizations converged here. They said they wanted to keep it very low so that it shouldn't be something that has been amplified so largely. And with one message unified against what they call Nigeria's influence. They had enough of, they say they had enough of Nigerians' actions, accusing them of drug peddling, encouraging prostitution, fraud, and so on, and so many other, of course, criminal activity. So they have just handed over that memoranda to those authorities who have kept their promise that they will take it high up there. But also speaking on behalf of the mission here, of the Nigerian mission, is Mr. Olajide, who promised that they are engaging at a higher level with the government of South Africa to ensure that, of course, this doesn't become a widespread protest. We saw also what happened yesterday in Kwahompo, where property was damaged. We also saw some people getting injured. So it's very tense there, but they say that they have also written a letter to the king there in East London so that they can meet and, of course, discuss this issue, Lulu.
Okay, which king? Which king are they hoping to meet with and have discussions? Is this the Igbo king?
The South African king, they didn't mention the name, but the king of the, of course, the Xhosa clan out there in East London. And just also to add, maybe on the letter, because I managed to get some of the issues that they're demanding, they're requesting from the Nigerian authorities, is the full disclosure or clear account of the event in question, including its purpose, organizers, and participants. They are also looking for identification of individuals involved, transparency regarding the identities of those who organized and participated in the event, clarification of legal status, confirmation of the legal and immigration status of those who are involved, but also commitment to respect local laws and systems of the country, assurance that the members of the Nigerian community in South Africa will operate within the legal, cultural, and governance frameworks of the Republic, Lulu.
So, Michael, when are they hoping all of this will happen? Because it can lead to a volatility, or in terms of a volatile situation. We saw the protest action that happened yesterday with one individual who ended up being stabbed and damaged to property. In terms of timeframes, has there been any indication from the Nigerian embassy to this regard?
They say even now, as we are talking now, the head here, the High Commissioner Ambassador Ajay, is engaged with authorities of South Africa, and this we are talking about DECO, where they're trying really to come together on how they can resolve this from the diplomatic level. However, the people here who are picketing this progressive movement saying that this should be done very quickly to avoid a lot of protests, but also bloodshed, because people on the ground are very angry. But also the mission encouraged this movement to say, please, we're asking you not to fuel too much of, hatred, because then other people are taking it very, very seriously, and to the point where properties are being damaged, but also amid all the, issues that South Africans are going through. We see now today petrol is going, so there are many, many issues that need to be resolved other than, fighting in the streets with foreign people. That's what he said.
Well, Michael, we are going to leave it there for today. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. That's Channel Africa's reporter Michael Mbewe joining us from the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria. It is 15 after 12 Central African time.
Conversations are happening, and Channel Africa is at the heart of them. We tell the African story with clarity, pride, and purpose, reaching audiences that matter to your brand. Partner with us and connect your business with listeners across borders in multiple languages and markets. For partnership opportunities, sponsorship, or sales, email us at partnership@channelafrica.co.za. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update with Lulu Gaboo, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
Now, for more on the story, we are now joined in studio by Dr. ABC Okoko, the president of Ohaneze Ndi Igbo, South Africa, Chepteto, to discuss the fallout. Now, Dr. ABC, it's a very interesting story that has come out. I mean, tell us about your initial reaction when you saw or when you read about what was happening.
Lulu, thank you for having me. Good afternoon, fellow listeners. Actually, what happened is very sad. It's not an interesting thing. It's very sad because we regret the unintended consequences that what played out have led to. We as Ohaneze, we preach peaceful coexistence between our people, the Igbo nation, and the host community. And we've been working towards that in various ways. We emphasize on social cohesion. Unfortunately, this thing came out in a manner that actually it was not the right presentation. The optics was very bad out there. There were just issues of misinformation. And based on that, we found out that everything went out of our control. Why am I saying that? This thing started at social media level. And because of the way people jump into social media news, it escalated. It couldn't have been at this moment. But answering your question, we've been trying to reach out to the king, whereby East London forms the domain. East London forms with. And we are getting positive signs that in no distant time, in just few days or so, we'll be able to be meeting directly with him to explain that what actually is being hid in the social media is not actually what it is. What you have in social media is fake news. In the first place, there was no coronation. Even though maybe if you look at the interview, some people use coronation. And remember, we are Africans. Some of us, we don't know the right word to use. When we see something based on what we think as our own language, we can now translate it to English, creating a confusion which can lead to more problems.
So, Dr. Okoko, what exactly happened? What was it that was posted on social media that has created this furor? And if you translate it in your language, what is it in English?
If I translate it in my language, what we are trying to convey or trying to do for the celebrant is just to decorate him, to say, we recognize you as one of our own, a sort of cultural ambassador. But we don't want to use the word cultural ambassador because it also is a loaded word. We could have said, so when we use the word Igwe, Igwe doesn't strictly mean king in Igbo language. Igbo actually, in Igbo language, we refer to heaven as Igwe, or we refer to sky as Igwe. So which means somebody on the high. It's just a way of recognizing to say, no, you are, you have a high status or something like that. So it wasn't about king and kingdoms.
So if this were to happen, say does it happen normally in Nigeria, in your region? Is it something that happens normally in terms of celebrating and all of that in terms of culture? That definitely happens. But where then the people who translated this and created the spectacle of it being a coronation, how would it then be interpreted back home for you?
Yeah, back home, the important thing is to know our intention, because if you talk about king, it's just like even in South Africa here, there are what we call traditional leadership acts. There are provisions, legislations that must be complied with. In fact, back home, it's more or less not just a physical thing. It has a spiritual dimension. And you have to look at boundary issues, biological issues, for example, the bloodline, whether the person is actually a royalty. You can't just see somebody and call him king. And by the way, for record, Igbos, we don't have king in Igbo land. What we have is a collective type of leadership where we have elders. And what happened, what actually appeared was more or less a private event where we try to get our people who can actually act like elders and be able also to build relationship with the whole community, host community. So actually that was what played out. But the people that framed it, the phraseology and the way they presented it was entirely different in terms of it's not in our intention to come and cause havoc, violence, disturbance of peace, trying to destroy the economic system and livelihoods of people. No, it's not. It's never what we intend.
Now, Dr. Okoko, what guidance are you providing to Nigerian nationals regarding respecting local governance and traditional authorities in South Africa, as South Africa being a host country?
Thank you. And that's actually what Ohanese is doing. By the way, Ohanese Ndibo is a worldwide organization. So here we have a South African chapter. It's just to guide our people to make sure they don't go beyond what is permissible or what the laws of wherever they find themselves and wherever they find themselves stipulates. It's just for them to be law-abiding. Ohanese Ndibo is a responsible organization. And personally, I'm taking responsibility to say that we are sorry to the host community for the misconception and for the misinterpretation of our action, not what they intended. Because in terms of the Leadership Act, Traditional Leadership Act of South Africa, there are aspects such as management of land and resources, and also liaising with government. This man can never have no land to manage. There are no people. In fact, I'm not his subject. It's not, in a normal kingship, there is structure, there are things that have to be in place. There's nothing like that. So he can't even command any authority here in this country. Talk less of speaking to government, talk less of going to the normal laid down system of leadership, traditional leadership.
Now, what message would you like to send to South Africans who feel concerned or threatened by the reported coronation? Now, earlier on, I was speaking to our reporter, Michael Mbewe, who is covering a protest action that was taking place at the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria. What message do you have for South Africans to understand exactly what unfolded?
The message I have is they must understand that we are their guests, and we really appreciate and respect South Africans, even the laws of South Africa, because you cannot go to somebody's house and tell him how to sit. It's the one to tell you how to sit, and we are law-abiding. So if there is any kind of misunderstanding, which is normal even in families, there are always misunderstandings. It's just to have to sit down on the round table and talk about it and give clarification, just like we are doing now. In fact, I have to be honest with you. If I have had this kind of opportunity few previous days than now, it might not have led to this, because I could have explained exactly what happened. But we try to send in a disclaimer, which of course, when I realized it was even in social media, it has already been doctored. It has been changed. Things have been, it's like there are third forces working against the Igbo nation in this country. Igbo nation is peace and lovely nation that like to relate with every nation. We don't segregate. We don't separate ourselves. We intermingle. We get to know our people, our host community, and also try as much as possible to blend with their culture. So we are subject to the cultural leadership, and also to the traditional leadership of South Africa in terms of the provisions of the Constitution.
Now, how can the Nigerians and South African communities work together now to rebuild the trust and prevent similar conflicts in the future? Because from this, a lot of frustration has come out with the name calling and labeling with regards to some of the rotten apples that could be in the pack. How are the relations going to be rebuilt, and are you working with the Nigerian embassy to this regard?
Of course, Ohanes Ndibo have been working with Nigerian High Commission, even the Consul General. In fact, we approached them when these things started. We have to reach out to them and say, this is what is happening. For the host community, I just want us to say, we regret what has happened. It's not our intention. But going forward, it opens a window of opportunity in terms of cultural exchange. Cultural exchange is not only done at diplomatic level, which, like when I had listened to some of the news, we can hear that the embassy or the High Commission is working with the government of South Africa. It doesn't end there. It has to also go to the grassroots. How do we do it? We need to build that relationship. We need to come and explain and open up. We don't need to be in a cocoon or isolate ourselves. We need to work together as Africans so that we can build a better and prosperous South Africa.
Now, Dr. Okoko, do incidents like this risk affecting relations between Nigerians and host communities in South Africa more broadly? And what long-term measures would you recommend to ensure peaceful coexistence and just mutual respect between different cultural groups?
Obviously, it may seem that it's going to hurt the relationship between the two countries. But beyond that, I feel that it's a window of opportunity whereby Nigeria or Nigerians in South Africa should actually show that they are law-abiding, respectful to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, and also to work hand in hand with the locals to fight all ills that actually surround our communities. Remember, I used to tell people, race is not a name for any crime, which means crime can be from any race, can be from any tribe, can be from any nation. But what we do is, can we come together as Africans and make sure that we don't allow evil or things that can destroy the relationship, good relationship of Africans, our brothers and sisters. We don't allow that to, be in place. So we need to work against those things. So going forward, I feel it's a way we can still go and see how we can build the trust and actually get ourselves working together.
And what are you finding, just to digress a little, in terms of Nigerians who are in South Africa, who are being hosted by South African different communities, and the perception and the impression that on the one hand, there will be good Nigerians, and on the other hand, there will be bad Nigerians, like in any communities. How do you deal with that as the Ohanese? How do you work around that, and how do you ensure that the reputation is not the way that it is currently?
You see, what's going on is, like you mentioned, there are good apples, there are bad apples, and in most cases, you find out that the bad apples overshadow the good apples. We've got a lot of Nigerians who are medical doctors in this country, attorneys, who are engineers in different sectors, academics. So those ones, nobody celebrate them, nobody talk about them. If you talk about them, it's on an individual basis. But now, when you want to talk about the bad apples, people talk about them collectively. Those are the ones they call Nigerians. Those ones doing good, trying to build the economy of the country. Nobody recognizes them. It's on an individual basis, they give them promotion. But when you want to sell the narrative we sell is the one we see on the street. And the ones you see in street, unfortunately, most of them might be illegal immigrants. They are not legal in this country. And at the end of the day, we use them to frame, these are Nigerians. So,
well, Dr. Okoko, I appreciate you coming to studio to discuss this and have a conversation with us on this. And hopefully you'll be able to come back and give us an update as to how things have unfolded, how far the embassy is with regards to this. And once you've met with the alleged king or the person who was being celebrated, as you put it, if they can come and join you in studio or have a conversation with us, we'd really appreciate that. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
That is Dr. ABC Okoko, the president of the Ahaneze Nidi Igbo South Africa chapter, joining us live in studio. And on today, hashtag Africa Updates Asked today, we focus on this story where Progressive Forces movement staging a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, intensifying tensions over the controversial and alleged coronation of a figure referred to as the Igbo King of East London in the Eastern Cape. We want to know, what advice would you give to South Africans and Nigerians in South Africa in addressing these tensions? Share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram at Channel Africa 1, on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684. Hashtag Africa Update Us. It is 12:30 and our news headlines up next.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Lulu. South African civil organization, the Progressive Forces movement, has staged a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, intensifying tension over the controversial and alleged coronation of a figure referred to as the Igbo King of East London in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. Tensions are escalating within Malawi's ruling Democratic Progressive Party as deepening power struggles emerge at the highest level of government, and discussions are underway for a UN investigation into the killing of more than 390 employees in the 2-year Gaza war, making this the deadliest conflict in the body's history. Channel Africa News, I'm Oneli Nzinzi.
SABC News. Headlines. The African Perspective. Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
It's a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibu Di Makura with your latest sports news at the Sawa. So Ghana have sacked manager Otto Addo 7 days before the start of the FIFA, or rather 72 days before the start of the FIFA World Cup. Addo's departure followed a 2-1 defeat by Germany in a friendly match in Stuttgart, Germany on Monday, as well as a 5-1 thrashing by Austria in Vienna last Friday. The Black Stars, who are in the same World Cup group as England, have lost their last 4 games. And despite having Manchester City winger Antoine Semenyo as well as Tottenham Hotspur Mohamed Kudus among their ranks, they failed to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations tournament under the same coach. Now, following the Germany game, the Ghana Football Association said it had parted ways with Addo and his exit was effective immediately. Now, the World Cup, which is being hosted by Canada, Mexico as well as the USA, runs from the 11th of June until the 19th of July. Ghana will open their campaign against Panama on the 18th of June before facing the likes of England as well as Croatia, also in the same group. Back home now, Hugo Bruce, the head coach of the South African men's national football team, Bafana Bafana, says they take tonight's second international friendly match against Panama to be played at the sold-out Cape Town Stadium very seriously. The Belgian mentor says playing the 2 matches against Panama would prepare them for the opening match of the 2026 World Cup against the co-host Mexico on the 11th of June. Meanwhile, Panama head coach Thomas Christensen says as much as there are similarities in playing styles of Bafana Bafana as well as Ghana, who are in their group for the World Cup, Bafana Bafana aren't as physical as the Black Stars. Bruce still believes that playing Panama is still the right choice.
Many similar things between Panama and Mexico. I think, and that's true, that Mexico is maybe a better team than Panama, but okay, we have to prepare ourselves, and we play against a Middle American team. So we were looking for a Middle American team also because the style and the way they play is a little bit different than all the opponents we had in the past years. It was only African teams. So therefore those 2 games are very important, and I was also happy that we could play 2 games against them. So I think it's a very good preparation for us for the game against Mexico.
On to this now. Tickets for the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic Games will go on sale to the general public on the 9th of April as LA 2028 also moved to reassure fans over ticket security by naming a group of verified resale platforms that will begin operating in 2027. Now, a pre-sale for residents in qualifying areas of Los Angeles as well as Oklahoma City will begin on the 2nd of April, with notification emails for selected buyers set to roll out from the 31st of March through the 4th of April. On the 17th of April, the organising committee will notify remaining registrants whether they are selected for the purchase window in the first general sales round known as Drop 1. LA 2028 ticketing program will include 1 million tickets priced at $28, which is the lowest price point. Roughly 5% of the Olympic tickets will cost over $1,000, with more than 75% of all tickets, including finals, will be under $400, and nearly 50% of all tickets will be under $200. While many para-athletes are preparing for the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, Scotland later on this year, some will not participate in the event due to reasons beyond their control. One such athlete is Kumo Pitso, the high jump T47 Paralympian. One of the reasons that some events are not part of the Games due to not having enough participants in certain classification. Now, the Paralympian T47 jumper Pitso is one of those who will be missing out on the Glasgow Commonwealth Games for South Africa.
I'm very hurt. I mean, Commonwealth is something I feel like everyone wants to be a part of. And it just feels like it fixes or it matches the whole trinity, World Champs, Commonwealth, and then Paralympics.
Now, Pitso, the 2024 Paris Paralympian, is not entirely despondent. While his compatriots are competing in Scotland, he will spend time honing his skills.
But nonetheless, I just think it's time for me to reflect on what I can fix on for the other big world stages. And then Commonwealth is just another thing where those athletes that can go, they get that extra leverage and exposure and competition time. But we can also use that in our sense to fix up on our training techniques during those sessions, during those off-seasons.
Well, that's a wrap from the Sports Desk at the SAWA. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, remember to send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Afrika Kusini imetoza ushuru mkubwa wa kuingiza chuma kutoka China na Thailand baada ya kupata ushahidi wa kutupwa. Pengine hii taarifa ikoje?
Inasemekana kama kampuni za China na za Thailand zilikuwa zinatupa hivyo vyuma huku South Africa kwenye bei yenye chini ya hivyo vyuma kisi vinavyouziwa hapa.
Pengine zuio hili linaweza kuharibu mahusiano ya kidiplomasia kati ya Afrika Kusini na nchi kama China pamoja na Thailand.
Tawazia kufuatana investigation iliyofanyika, kwa maana kitu chetu napenda South Africa, serikali ya South Africa, wakati kitu kinapotokea hawaamki tu asubuhi wanachukua decision, walichukua muda. Kwa maana hii hali ukifuata hiyo kampuni kubwa inaitwa Artemeta imepiga malalamiko sana kuanzia mwaka jana mwanzo, huko walikuwa na pressure kubwa yenye wanakuja kufeti na vyuma venyewe vinatoka nchi za nje.
Darubini ya Afrika kila Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa kuanzia saa 11 kamili hadi saa 12 kamili jioni majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
With your business news, good afternoon. I am Nolutando Butelezi. Some fuel stations in South Africa say that they are already running low on supply as motorists flock to fill up their tanks ahead of tonight's fuel price increase. Petrol is expected to rise by more than $0.29 per litre, while diesel could increase by nearly 0.52 cents per litre. The hike is attributed to global oil shocks linked to tensions which involve the United States, Israel, and Iran. The manager of the engine fuel station in Auckland Park, Oscar Dumani, says that the petrol and diesel supplies are already quite low.
We are a bit under pressure and we are not getting enough as expected. Normally our tank capacity is around 23,000 a tank, of which they are not giving us enough, and it's a sign that they are struggling on their end in terms of delivery, supplies and all that. We are really panicking. We're seeing the pressure because some other service stations now, they are dry already, of which it causes a lot of pressure to us as well, and that can lead us to get to dry as well.
The South African rand has been slightly firmer in early trade, but it is on course to end the month about 7% weaker against the dollar after a sell-off triggered by the Iran war. The rand traded at 17.1575 against the dollar, about 0.3% firmer than its previous close. The rand has been at the mercy of global market sentiment since the US and Israel started the war in late February and Iran retaliated. Moving on, the African Development Bank says that the shock of the Middle Eastern conflict to the African economy could be modest, although it worsens an outlook already weakened by debt burdens, shrinking aid, and global instability. Chief economist Kevin Urama estimated that growth could fall by about 0.2 percentage points, provided the war does not last longer than 3 months. He says that if the war continues for up to 6 months, we might see about 1.5% decline. The European and African oil market is showing more signs of tightness, with some crude differentials hitting record highs as peak summer demand nears and Asia seeks supplies to fill shortages caused by Iran's blocking of the Strait of Hormuz, now into 5th week. The Iran war has forced the shutdown of at least 10 million barrels per day of oil from the Middle East due to Iran's effective closure of the strait and attacks on Iranian and other Middle East Gulf nations' energy infrastructure. That production volume represents at least 10% of daily global oil consumption. A Russian-owned oil tanker is due to dock shortly in Cuba, ending a near-total fuel blockade by Washington since January. It's carrying an estimated 730,000 barrels of crude oil. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the U.S. policy towards Cuba has not changed, even as it allowed the sanctioned Russian tanker to deliver fuel to the island for humanitarian reasons. The BBC's Will Grant has the details.
The Russian tanker is a welcome lifeline for the stricken island. Apart from some smaller deliveries of fuel oil for Cuba's private sector, this is the first crude shipment to dock in one of Cuba's ports since early January. The apparent softening of the Trump administration's oil blockade comes as a Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman confirmed conversations have been held between Washington and Moscow over the US-sanctioned tanker. President Trump has said that no individual shipment will make any meaningful difference to the state of Cuba, which he continues to insist is about to fall.
$1 in Nigeria is 1,000 naira 382. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 659. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 129 shilling 129, and in Zambia, it is 18 kwacha 918. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 24. Russia is 81 rubles 152. India, it's 94 rupees 313. China, it's 6 yuan 91. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rands 15 cents. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $4,558 and platinum $1,907 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is quoted at $111.63 a barrel. For any business news stories that you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. You can call us on +27 11 714 4459. With your business news, I am Nolutando Butelezi.
business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
It is 12:45 Central African Time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. A worldwide fund for nature, South Africa, is helping to shape the country's next generation of environmental leaders through its long-running Environmental Leaders Graduate Internship Program. And for more than 15 years, the initiative has provided young graduates with a paid practical pathway into the green economy, offering hands-on experience, professional training, and access to key industry networks. The 12-month program not only addresses critical skills shortages in the environmental sector, but also places interns with leading organizations such as Sandparks and the South African National Biodiversity Institute. And for more, we are now joined on the line by Pedzi Gozo, the Executive Manager of Strategic Communications for the Worldwide Fund in South Africa. Pedzi, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Thank you, Lulu. Thank you for having me.
Now, talk to us about the program's objectives and how does it work and how long has the program been running?
So South Africa has a number of challenges, as we know, and unemployment is right up there, along with poverty and inequality. But South Africa also has an abundance of natural resources. You know, we're one of 17 mega diverse countries, so that's a huge opportunity because these resources need to be sustained so they can optimally provide the services that South Africans so desperately need. So between this huge unemployment problem and this amazing resource, the graduate intern program actually addresses both of these, you know, by putting people in green careers, giving young people a head start in their careers by placing them in organizations where they're able to network, learn practical skills, and really kickstart their careers in these new green emerging fields of study. So that's the point of the program. Lulu, it's been running for 15 years, and over those 15 years we've had 250 graduates, 80% of whom are still employed across nearly 50 organizations, you know, across South Africa. You've already named a few, but also across corporates. So not just in the environmental field, they find jobs in all sorts of different industries, you know, bringing the green sustainability message and actions and practical work into various sectors.
And how big was this year's group and which areas of study are eligible?
So this year's group was 19. There were 19 interns, 8 honors and 11 masters. And part of them was a policy analyst, and we had a soil scientist, and we had a climate change specialist. And over the years, what we found is that there's a lot of people who are from the environmental sector, so those traditional fields, but we also have these new emerging fields, you know, like environmental law and engineering and sustainable architecture. So the industry is growing, and green practices are infiltrating, you know, all sorts of different fields. And we're quite excited to see that movement, you know, not away from, but to include over and above the traditional skills and some new and emerging careers.
You mentioned earlier that 80% are still employed. What's happened to the 20%? Is there a way, or have they found, employment on their own, or what's happened to them? Are you able to keep that data?
I don't know at the top of my head what happens to them, but I do know just anecdotally that there are a couple who've gone into entrepreneurship and started their own businesses, and so that's super exciting. But there are also some who go on to academia and go on to do PhDs and further studies. So those are the ones that I know of anecdotally, but no, I don't have those stats at my fingertips at the moment.
Okay, and now who funds the program?
Yeah, so we've had various funders over the year. The main funder has been the WWF Nedbank Green Trust, and they've funded it from its beginning, so from 2011, and we're hugely grateful for that. But we've also had Barlow World over the years, and more recently WWF Japan, our office in Asia, has also funded us. But Lulu, we are always looking for funding, so individuals, corporates, anyone out there, who's looking to fund a program that has such a brilliant track record, and like I say, that does address some real issues, we're more than welcome to talk.
Now, Pezi, do you have to be a South African to apply, and when is the next intake?
Yes, you do. You have to be a South African. We work with, again, 80% of all South African universities, so quite a wide spread. And funding available, our next intake is in August this year, for starting in May next year. So that's honours and master students who will be finishing their programs at the end of this year can apply from August onwards. And just look out on our social media platforms and in the press to see that call for applications.
Well, Pezi, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We are going to leave it there for today. That's Pezi Gozo, the Executive Manager of Strategic Communications for the Worldwide Fund South Africa, joining us on the line.
Your window to the continent and beyond. Africa Update, only on Channel Africa. Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Well, it is that time of the day where we say a happy Tuesday to Dabukhule Kuleni of the Upside team. Dabukho, how are you today?
I'm fantastic, Lulu. Sometimes, even the microphones need
a little
certain substances just to
here and there.
Stay strong.
Yeah.
I'm happy. It's a beautiful day, but also a bit sad, isn't it? Because this is the last time that I get to throw forward and have a conversation with you in this financial year and going into the new financial year, Channel Africa. So, bittersweet moment.
Yeah.
Bittersweet moment, but excited about the upcoming, financial year and all that lies ahead.
I'm sure you can tell us about it. Just give us a little bit of a snippet. We always want to know these things.
All right. So I will tell you because I like this show. I like you. Here's what's coming up in my world.
Yes.
I am going to be hitting the road for Channel Africa. And obviously we await official proper announcements and all these things, but get ready to travel and explore Africa with me. That's what's coming up.
All right, and what's coming up today on the Upside?
Here's what's coming up on the Upside this afternoon. This being a very special show this afternoon, as we celebrate the final Upside episode as the team that as you know it, with Matseko and myself. The first conversation we're going to be having is with KwaZulu-Natal, as it sets its sight on nearly 1 billion rand in Easter tourism spend, as visitor numbers are surging across the province. And then we get into conversation about art. And, really today is going to be a reflective show more than anything else. We'll have moments where we just reflect on some of our favorite moments throughout the year 2025 going into 2026. And just share some of our favorite stories and conversations, many memories we've created on this show. And, fantastic guests we've had, fantastic conversations. Many of them stand out. I'm trying to pick a few of them right now. But it's going to be one of those shows where we have conversations as the final show of the Upside as you know it, but also just have reflective moments and just celebrate the year that was. How was your show?
Show was good, and it's conversations, and it was an exciting one with the not king in East London. We had
Didn't they
a
clarify
doctor.
that one?
They did clarify it, but we needed somebody to come into studio and give us more clarity. And Dr. Okoko came into studio, and he just said there is none of that. There is no king that was ordained or
inaugurated or what. Yes.
There is no such, and they have coronated. Thank you, Tracy. Coronated. And he just put a lot of clarity into it, and the fact that I think he said the Igbo tribe or the nation, there is no one king. There's a group of elders, and that's how it is done. He just said this was just a celebration, and yes, and even the word Igwe. He spoke of the fact that they refer, it's either referring to the sky or referring to somebody who's just got an element of power.
The sky?
I
didn't know this.
I kid you not. He was sitting right across from me. So it was a very interesting conversation that we had today, and a lot more, coming up, and it's going to be a good one.
Plenty of things happening in South Africa as well. In addition to that, I saw Helen Zille swimming in a pothole or a sinkhole. What was that?
I saw that.
What was that about?
It's Helen is campaigning, and it's people are paying attention.
But it looks like the city is going to do something about that little ditch, apparently.
Apparently, it's been a number of years. It's been on and off. The one minute it's covered up with sand, and then the next minute it's. Once it rains, it's filled up with water and puddle. Yeah, but I'm not sure whether it is that big in terms of the 3.5
She was
meters.
able to swim in it. That's quite... But I also love how other members of the DA party are also trying to do the same thing. I've seen some other members also trying to swim in, similar potholes in different parts of South Africa. But, taking the mickey out of it, lovely to see we've got a sense of humor. In Africa. It's an African thing, isn't it? We laugh at ourselves here.
No, definitely. We have to. It's just it keeps us sane, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Right. Lulu Gaboo, thank you so much, and all the best to you. Can't wait to catch up with you. Obviously, we'll catch up outside of the studio, but for the very last time, on the upside, thank you for having us.
Well, that's the upside coming up at the top of the hour with Tebogo Kuleni and Mateko Musito. Well, we continue. Literally, we've run out of time, and I know Tracy's probably getting ready to wave her arms and to say time has run out. And she's waving. She is waving, I promise you. But continue with us on all our social media platforms. That's on X, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube at Channel Africa 1 on Facebook at Channel Africa. You can also send us your comments and voice notes on +27 83 288 6684 #Africa Update. And today on #Africa Update Ask, we were speaking about this with Tebogo. South African civic organisation, the Progressive Forces Movement, staging a protest outside the Nigerian embassy in Pretoria, intensifying tensions over the controversial and alleged coronation of a figure referred to as the Igbo King of East London in the Eastern Cape. We want to know, what advice would you give to South Africans and Nigerians in South Africa in addressing these tensions? Now, share your thoughts and your views on all our social media platforms. And also, stay connected to Africa and the world with Channel Africa, the international voice of the South African Broadcasting Corporation. Watch or listen anytime, anywhere at channelafrica.co.za, on the Channel Africa mobile app and on SABC Plus, or via the DSTV and OpenView audio bouquets. You can also catch us on social media at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa 1 on all other platforms. Channel Africa, first with the African story globally. Goodbye.